in front of me is one of the most important, one of the most significant books of 2019, and this is the Margaret Atwood's The Testaments. And it's not important or significant just because it's the co-winner of Book of Fiction in 2019, but the fact that it is a sequel of The Handmaid's Tale, written also by Margaret Atwood. So that book was published like 30 years ago, and that was a novel, a dystopian novel about a theocracy in Northern America called Gilead. So in that theocracy, there is falling birth rates and failing economy, and as a result of that, God-frenzied warships have taken over scientific progress, and everywhere there's war and poverty, and women are oppressed throughout the Gilead, and they are passed on like cattle for breeding purposes. The most fertile women are chosen as handmaid, and they're forced to undergo painful ordeal, and they're passed from one high-ranking official to another for providing a child for birth. The protagonist of the novel, she's forced to become a handmaid. Her child is taken away from her, and it's her suffering, and how she perceives Gilead, the Gilead through her eyes. That's the main focus of the novel, really. But the thing is that the novel was more about, the character study, her inner torments, the inner journey, and herself. Really, it was not about Gilead itself. So we get only like a half impression of Gilead, and the thing is that even towards the end, there's a hint like that the Gilead eventually crumbles down and falls, but there is no definite clue as to how that happens. So everybody had naturally the questions about what was Gilead, what was his working, what was his system, how it formed, how it just went away, vanished. And even I had that questions too. I mean, people wanted more, people wanted answers, but nothing came really for 30 years. And then suddenly this beauty comes out. I mean, after reading this, I have to say that this is one of the best books of 2019, and one of the best novels I've ever read so far. It's one of the most perfect, nearly perfect, flawless novels I've ever read. Let me give you a bit outline of this book. It's basically three testimonies um, placed in kind of chronological order. First testimony is that of Aunt Lydia, and she's the infamous Aunt Lydia, and she's the mastermind behind different institutions and schools for brainwashing women and preparing them to become handmaids or subservient women. And she's perceived as very cruel, very cunning. However, we get a look at how she becomes Aunt Lydia and what is her actual true purpose in Gilead. And I think this is the most how she became Aunt Lydia. She used to be a judge, and then she's broken mentally and physically down, and she decided to become what she is, what she was the Aunt Lydia. That's how she becomes Aunt Lydia. Basically, I think that is one of the most harrowing, one of the most wonderful really written segment in the whole novel. Okay, so that's one testimony. The other one is that of a woman, and she is born a daughter of a commander, and she leads kind of a sheltered life compared to other women in Gilead, and she attends school especially for her type of children. However, the thing is that she discovers that she is not the real children of the commander. And then we see how she grows up, how she becomes an aunt in the Ardua Hall, and her eventual fate. That's one testimony. And the last testimony is that of a girl from outside the Gilead. And through her eyes, we get to see what the world thinks of the Gilead, in generally derogatory terms. And she plays both these two women, the later two women, they play a key role in some vital moments in history. So these three testimonies together consist of this book, and I have to say, guys, this book is wonderful. It's just, and we cannot say a lot about this book because it's perfect. It's almost flawless. It's just wonderful, wonderful writing. There are at times when the plot seems a little stretched thin, the credibility seems a little low, but I think I'm just nitpicking because overall this book, gives me closure. A lot of people, it gives closure to a lot of people, and that's and then that is more than important. And it's, oh yeah, it's wonderfully written, no question about that. And I would recommend this book to anyone. I mean, I do not really follow the awards. I don't really agree with the Booker or any other literary awards, but I have to say this is very aptly judged, and this book deserves to be the co-winner or winner. I don't know. I would recommend this book to anybody, and anybody can read it. The language is not that difficult, and however, it's quite pricey, this hardcover, so you can wait for the paperback or buy the Kindle edition. So guys, that's it for today. I'll meet you with another video and another book next time. See you soon.